welcome back to Montreal by night. Oh yeah, so yesterday I finished at... Oh, no, don't disconnect. Something fucked up. Yesterday I finished that with Christianis Lionel. That's better. Cool. And so we're gonna get back into it with Santiago de Soto in the form of Sangri the Serpent. The fuck are you? Yeah, cool. So, my gosh, it doesn't stop. I don't know what's going on, but Scruff is out of control. I think someone was saying I saw you on the Most Woof page. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Anyway, I need to leave it alone for the day, I guess. I'm gonna go to bed soon, so it's my ritual now. I'm going to bed by reading Montreal by night. Am I gonna do a Plombois by night? That would be funny. I wonder if there's a Paris by night. I'll have to check it out. Okay, so Santiago de Soto was a warrior of the Knights of Christ, a religious order linked to the former Portuguese Templars. A competent sailor, he commanded the Santo Cristo, one of many small ships that launched expeditions against the North African coastline. A noble man of good intent, De Soto proved himself many times in battle, attracting the attention of Enrique the Navigator, the master of the Knights of Christ. Under the wings of Enrique, De Soto discovered that the order had secret benefactors, hidden allies who wanted Santiago. Okay. Believing that Enrique's actions were performed in God's name, De Soto allowed the vampire. You think that the vampire is doing that in God's name? Okay. You fucking delusional religious people. You really are amazingly either dumb or fanatical. Anyway, De Soto allowed the vampire to embrace him. You guys, I'm not even feeling bad for you anymore, De Soto, if you're like, oh yeah, this vampire wants to turn me in God's name. Hello, that's the opposite of, you know. But yeah, I can understand that for once, in God's name, the love of someone trying to embrace you makes sense. Usually God is just a punishing bitch. Anyway, I'm gonna stop bitching about religious people and their religion. After the Anarch revolt and the Convention of Thorns, I'm sorry, my essays as usual. De Soto was one of the first to join the Sabbath. He recognized the opportunity to seize personal power. He formed the Navigators, named in honor of Enrique, and fled to the New World with his ship. The pack raided the Brazilian coast to enhance its reputation in the Sabbath. Indeed, the Navigators became one of the most infamous nomadic pack in the New World. De Soto learned of the shepherds after the Coven assisted in the creation of the Inquisition. A former Knight of Christ and a recognized Stabat persona, De Soto went to Montreal. Under the cover of trading information with the librarians to insinuate himself into the highly influential shepherds and the Inquisition. The ruse was successful. De Soto met with the shepherds, sufficiently impressed them, and was invited to join the coven. He declined shepherd membership, however, claiming that God would be better served if he pursued his talent as a warrior. The shepherds also sponsored his bid to join the Inquisition. De Soto became an inquisitor and left the care of his pack to Miguel, his child. De Soto became a feared inquisitor. It was therefore no surprise that he was chosen to lead the tribunals at Sangre's trial in 1992. Although the outcome was certain, the trial lasted for 3 months. When it came time for Sangre's execution, it was De Soto who would administer the coup de grace. As De Soto called upon, his ability and flames began to erupt from his hand. He sensed full magic at work. His soul, his very essence was pulled into the fire he woved and shot into Sangre. He watched as the laughing spirit of Sangre leaped into his own body, just as his abilities consumed the body of Sangre along with his own trapped soul. That's when the nightmare began. De Soto found his spirit in contention between two demons, Bothothel's, I still don't know if I'm saying that right, Sangre's master, and Metathiax, the trapped lord of Montreal. Sangre was beyond their reach for the time being. Bothothel's was unable to approach the island to retrieve his property, and Metathiax thought he had a tenuous claim of Sangre's soul, was unwilling to allow Bothothel's possession. De Soto, however, was fair game. Both demons wanted him, and neither would back down. Finally, De Soto came upon a solution. If he would be allowed to return to the mortal world, he would find Sangre and return him to Bothothel's, and try to locate another soul for Metathiax, that of Cecilia of the Tongue. Both agreed, and De Soto was returned to Montreal in the body of Terence de Bouville. Fuck, I'm so confused. Through Metathiax's manipulation, De Soto reawakened as partial amnesiac. The Decani molded De Soto's memory and new body to look and be like Sangre's. What? He now hopes that by making De Soto believe he is Sangre. What? He can fool Bothothel's into claiming the wrong soul, thereby nullifying the contract with Sangre and making both souls his. I'm so confused. Metathiax also sent dreams to Marie-Ange, who discovered Sangri sleeping in the snake pit. And, what? Under Marie-Ange's care, De Soto is trying to re-establish contact with Ezekiel, his child. Okay. De Soto looks almost identical to Sangri, with the exception of his eyes, which are solid black. A Haitian gentleman in his 30s, De Soto has a sad demeanor, compact facial feature, and a well-developed body. He carries himself confidently, though an occasional flicker of uncertainty does give him pause. Role-playing hints. As Sangri, you are a man driven by several agendas, including killing De Soto and re-establishing your hold on Ezekiel. You fully believe in who you are. Sorry. Though there are moments when foreign yet familiar images undermine your self-confidence. This is aggravated by your possession of abilities and skills that you don't remember learning, and by memory that seems to belong to someone else. This is so convoluted. I'm like losing track. Sangri is De Soto is Sangri. Everyone looks the same, everyone has swapped souls. I'm like, what the fuck? Secret. Both hotels has implanted De Soto with the subconscious knowledge that Pierre Belmar is a potent infernalist. Okay, cool. He's a bourgeois, blah blah blah. Alright, so now let's move on to the Queens of Mercy. Like a gauntlet, the voice is haunted, walking in with his thin skin, lowered chin. He knew the names that they would taunt him with: faggot, sissy, punk, queen, queer. The disposable heroes of Hypocrisy, language of violence. Ah, I like that. Let me Google it. The disposable wow, okay. Language of violence. Interesting.
Dehumanizing the victim makes things simpler. It's like breathing with a respirator. It eases the conscience of even the most conscious and calculating violator. Words can reduce a person to an object, something more easy to hate than an inanimate entity. Completely disposable, no power to obliterate. But death is the silence in this language of violence. Death is the silence. But death is the silence in this cycle of violence. Death is the silence. It's tough to be on the alone.
Okay, interesting. The Queens of Mercy were formed from the remnants of another gay-specific coven called the Matashin. that nomadic pack spent the latter half of the 19th century in France, wreaking havoc in Camilla-held bastions. By the 1920s, multiple bloodhounds across Europe forced the dwindling Mattachine coven to escape to North America, where it eventually split up. Mattachine, the name sounds familiar, but I don't know where from. Mattachine. What is that? There's the Mattachine Steps in LA. The Mattachine Society, founded in 1950, was an early national gay rights organization in the US, perhaps preceded only by Chicago's Society for Human Rights. Well, there you go. Interesting. Wow. Wow. Homosexuals are different. Yes. But who cares? Everyone is different. The Mattachine Steps. In case you didn't know, Mattachine Society today. I'll have to investigate into that. That would be good to put in LFT, the game that I'm developing. That would be really interesting to research that, because it's all about queerness and stuff. So as it takes place in Montreal, as it takes place in the village, as it's talking about queerness and gayness, I'll have to look into that. Montreal attracted the core members of the pack, and by the 1950s, the Mattachine was 7 members strong and in control of the city's emerging gay district. It was at time that Sébastien Goulet returned to Montreal and joined the Mattachine. I knew a Sébastien Goulet from back in the days, I believe. Just weird to think about this guy 10 years later. Wow. Sébastien Goulet. Why are you coming back? In my life. Sébastien Goulet. Okay. Anyway. On June 28, 1969, following the police raid on the Stonewall Bar in New York City, most of the Mattachine left for New York to revel in the ensuing Stonewall riots. They never returned. Having remained behind, Sébastien formed a coven of his own called the Queen of Mercy. The Queens have been taken heavy losses over the last decade, between Spider's desertion to the wretched, the death of 3 members by the hand of Pierre Bellemare, and the disappearance of Christian Gay. The Queens of Mercy are currently down to 3 members. Despite this, the coven maintains control over the gay village. The members' feeding stock is the 15,000 gay men and lesbians who live in the village. The village. It has changed so much. It's time for it to come back from the dead. I would love to have my studio in the gay village. Oh, the cocks. The Queens of Mercy are fairly mobile, attaching themselves to the most popular gay bars of the moment. When a new club opens up, the Queens migrate to it, making it their home. Over the years, the Queens of Mercy have had lairs at Trucks, the Garage, the Jungle, Prison, Max, Cox, and a dozen other bars. The Coven's current lair is Heaven, Montreal's newest hotspot for the gay community. I'm going to prison. Anyway, it's funny. Rights and practices. The Queens of Mercy. That would be funny. I would love to have, to partake and to be able to give back to this community in a more stable way and valuable way. Prêt-à-porter. During the time between the Festival de Jazz de Montreal and the Just for Love Comedy Festival in July, the Queens of Mercy invite other gay and lesbian packs from across North America to join them for festivities. The Mattachine of New York and the nomadic Sacred Band and Bull Dykes always attend. On the second Friday in July, the Queens host a Roman-style blood feast and orgy held at Sebastian's lair. On the following Saturday night, they all go out straight bashing on West Island. Okay? Don't do that. Sunday night is dedicated to a grand drag show. Ooh. Each pack is allowed to grab as many mortals as it wants and dresses them up in outrageous outfits. The terrorized humans are paraded around the garage dance floor and judged for poise, costume, originality, and how loud they can scream. Falsetto is preferred. The mortals are then forced to fight it out a la Dynasty, mimicking the catfights between Joan Collins and Linda Evans. Those who perform the best are allowed to leave. The rest are devoured in a late-night repast. Sébastien Goulet. By the 19th and 20th century, the richest citizen of Canada grew up in the Golden Mile estates. Sébastien Goulet was no exception. An only child, he was treated like a prince. His parents, however, played the roles of rich social butterflies, and he was raised under the guidance of tutors and nannies. Mr. Sheffield. Sébastien grew up learning how to manipulate people emotionally. Oh, this bitch. When he reached puberty, he developed an interest in men and quickly learned how to seduce them. Sébastien honed his personal skills. becoming adept at flirting with people while still playing the social role that his parents demanded of him. However, his life changed forever when his parents returned from a Moroccan vacation with a big wheeling big willing guest, Marcus C. Andrews. Sebastian immediately fell for the stranger and tried to seduce him. Andrews, sensing the game, outdid Sebastian by seducing both of the boys' parents. Ooh. Marcus tutored Sebastian, who proved to be a very enterprising student. It wasn't long before Marcus revealed himself to be a Sabbath and brought Sebastian across. He was buried in a grave along with his mortal parents and fed on them in order to escape. He then took his family holdings and traveled the world as Marcus Consort. By 1955, tired of his sire and eager to strike out on his own, Sebastian returned to Montreal and joined the machine. Sebastian still plays seduction games, but now enjoys using straight men and seeing how far he can manipulate them into falling for him. He retains his boyish charm and educated manner, so he is rarely unsuccessful. It takes most men a year or two, but they eventually come around. Sebastian then abandoned them, watching from behind the scene as they deal with what they have become. A well-dressed, clean-cut young adult, Sebastian has an easy smile, raven black hair, sparkling green eyes, and the perfect physique. He wears the trendiest prep school fashions. You are self-confident. Your smile is infectious, even seductive in its casualness. You are well educated and eloquent and know that you could bed whomever you choose. Okay, I didn't know we could use bed as a verb. Regardless of their sexual orientation, it is not a matter of overconfidence, simply fact. Sebastian suspects that Pierre is the brains behind Les Orphelins. Ooh, a city gangrel. Ooh, I like that. A child nature and a bon vivant demeanor. Generation 7. Wow. This is an interesting guy. Sébastien Goulet. Caroline Bishops. Like so many teens who are unable to cope with brutality at home, Caroline was a runaway. Fleeing to the streets of New York, she became an easy target for the chicken hawks who watched the bus terminals. She failed to see the yellow van that followed her and had no time to react when she was pulled inside. The next few months were a blur of drug-induced hallucination and a whirl of featureless men who brought only pain. Caroline underwent forced prostitution until she got pregnant and was stricken with several different venereal diseases. Then her life took an even worse turn. The man who pimped her sold her to a client. Although in a drug-induced stupor, Caroline remembers a filthy and dimly lit room, a masked doctor who bloodied surgical garb and fingers that melted into various shapes, scalpel and blades. To her horror, she can't remember beyond the point of the doctor spreading her legs open and squatting down to peer inside her. Ugh. Caroline emerged from her creation right in the care of the Matashin, who seemed to be under orders to protect her. Despite her loss of memory, Caroline's new existence gave her Caroline's new existence gave her the grace, power, and beauty that she never had as a human. She also realized that she felt more comfortable around women, even to the point of not wanting to feed off men anymore. Okay? Caroline seems to be doing well until 1993 when she began suffering from a recurring nightmare about the mysterious doctor. She awoke repeatedly in a bestial state and had to be monitored on several occasions as she regained her senses. Troubled by her dreams and the distorted faces of children that appeared in them, Caroline moved to Montreal in hopes of getting help from the shepherds. The Matachin, though reluctant to let her leave, agreed when Sébastien Goulet promised to watch over her. Caroline is currently being helped by Celeste, one of the shepherds. Caroline suspects that her sire was killed in vicissitude and that her nightmares stem from a vile pregnancy spawned by him. She has kept this a secret from everyone, including Celeste. Caroline has shoulder-length strawberry blonde hair, very petite features, and piercing all over her body. When she isn't around other women, she wears clothes that show off her bodywork to the point of walking around topless at Heaven and other liberal gay establishments. You are comfortable around most men outside your pack. This is not a weakness. You are uncomfortable, sorry. This is not a weakness. You have simply seen that what depravity most men are capable of. You tend to flirt with women, but you aren't flighty. You have a good mind and are sharp with details. Most women consider you a good listener. The pregnancy. Clan Panda. What the fuck is that? Nature autist, demeanor praise seeker. What is Panda? VTM. Panda. I didn't know about that. Joseph Pender is a clanless vampire and a priestess of the Sabbath. He is the infamous founder of the Penders, an organization. Interesting. An organized group of caitiff within the sect. Oh, well, there you go. Interesting. I didn't know about that. Okay, and finally, Alex Camille. The stereotype of a gay lifestyle are, sadly enough, often embraced by gay men. Alex came out faster than he could handle and bought into the whole mentality of gay life, including its worst misconception. He confused his need for stability with sexual yearning and frequented bathhouses to compensate for his emptiness. Within a year, he had contracted AIDS. Alex proceeded through the typical stages of coping with a life-threatening disease. Denial came first, and he continued his sexual activities. Anger came next, embittered toward a community that he believed was responsible for his affliction. Alex began sleeping with men in an effort to infect them with the virus. He did it all: sex in washrooms and saunas, quickies in alleys and porn theaters, and cruising in the streets and parks. As the symptoms of his disease worsened, Alex hid in the comfort of his anger and resorted to S&M. Alex's partners rarely returned after their initial encounters, and his reputation attracted the attention of Sebastian. He heard of Alex through a local BBS that catered to the gay community. After finding Alex at one of his bathhouse haunts, Sebastian spent an entire evening exploring the young man's body and psyche. Alex was, in Sebastian's opinion, prime material for his coven. It was after Alex became Sabbath that a curious thing occurred. Spared death through the embrace, he saw the people die whom he deliberately infected. He saw the pain he caused. While Sebastian laughed of the entire matter, Alex could not. He had regained his humanity. Alex now secretly helps the gay community by acting as its guardian angel, watching over it and ensuring that Sebastian's pranks never get too brutal. He has even taken to patrolling the streets and parks. Alex exudes an air of tragedy. He is sullen and avoids eye contact for fear that other Sabbats will see the compassion and regret in his eye. His brownish hair was thinning as he approached death, and he looks thin for his build. His skin still bears sores and scars from his infection. Avoid eye contact. Never reveal the pain you have caused others. The Sabbath were right in that their immortality is a blessing. For you it is the road to atonement and the renaissance of your morality. You are now more human than you ever were, and the Sabbath is no longer meant for you. Chicago sounds nice. Another city going well. Oh well, yeah, if it has been embraced by Sebastian. Demeanor penitent. Interesting. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll come back to Ezekiel and his supporters probably tomorrow. Oh. Ooh, I didn't know about that. Can I do that there? Oh yeah, wow. That's even better this way, I think. So you can see the whole thing, and I can see the whole thing. But I really can just zoom in for whatever I'm reading in a way more precise way. That's kind of cool. If I can see the whole thing, yeah. Perfect. Huh. Cool. Well, I'll try something new tomorrow with Ezekiel and his supporters. The return of Saint-Gré's child, Ezekiel, has electrified Montreal, a bold and powerful force for change. Ezekiel has presented himself as the only candidate strong and skillful enough to restore the city to greatness. So far, Ezekiel has attracted support from the wildest pack, les orphelins and the wretched, but his leadership is also attractive to the wise and cautious vampires of the city. Cool, I'll try that tomorrow. Well, that is all for tonight. I will leave you with it. And I'm gonna go to bed because it's 11 and I'm gonna try to have a good night's sleep.